Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the next session on urban infrastructure. This session is Urban Climate-Led Design, a planning tool for livable places. So I'm the chair. I'm Richard Lorch. I'm the editor of a new journal called Buildings and Cities, which is launching later this year. What we're going to do in the next hour or so is discuss the growing and urgent need to demonstrate the impacts of proposed development on urban climate. And what we have assembled for you this afternoon is an interdisciplinary group of experts to present their knowledge and ongoing research on this. But also we want to pose some questions to you and to hear back from you. So this is going to be interactive. Please jot down your questions that you may have. We have time at the end to discuss those questions. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is urban climate is not a new issue. We knew about this going back a long, long time to Roman times, if not before. And here's a selection from Palladio's third book of architecture. Regard ought to be had to the temperature of the air and the region of the heaven under which the city is situated. For those of a temperate and cool air, the streets ought to be ample and broad, and he goes on to explain further. But the city being in a hot country, its streets ought to be made narrow and the houses high. So, if we knew this 300 years ago, why are we here today? Well, there are a few matters that have accelerated our concerns. First of all, we have increasing rapid urbanization, and along with that, increasing density and land pressures. And as we build denser and sometimes higher, that changes the microclimates of our cities. We have decreasing regulation of how we control and think about these matters. And we have great concerns about mitigating climate change and reducing CO2. So the relationship, the dynamic relationship between a building and its context is of increasing importance. And the context's influence on the building, its shade, its shadow, its wind, all influence building performance as well. So we can't just design the perfect low-energy building. We need to have regard to the context. And this is why we're here today to discuss some of those planning issues. We're also increasingly concerned about air quality and public health and thermal comfort, and what that means for the outdoor spaces that we create in our cities and the interactions between them. So what you will be hearing is experts talking about these issues. Now, in some parts of the world, notably Southeast Asia, they are a bit more sophisticated and advanced in their planning, understanding, and regulation than perhaps we are in Northern Europe. This is an example of some guidelines set out which would not work in here, but work well in Asia because of the different climate being hot and humid there. So they are concerned about using the wind to cool the area and the city, whereas here we have different preoccupations. But just to show that it is done and can be done in terms of our planning, regulation, thinking, and guidance. And of course, Asian cities are very dense, some of them, and very high rise. So the key questions we will be discussing in detail this afternoon are, what are some of the impacts of urban climate? What are the dynamics of their interactions? How do urban form and building design affect the microclimate? And what can we do about it? What can planners and designers do? And what new responsibilities arise?